Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Disrupt Your Now, the show for entrepreneurs who are
Mhm.
ready to shake things up. And if you don't know it, it's named after my book, Disrupt Your Now. And then I also have Boomer Cash Out. So if you're looking for something to read to help you get through whatever you're going through, check out my books. But in the meantime, my guest tonight, Phyllis Pieri, is actually in the book. And
Okay.
she is a freedom business specialist. Pieri, oh my God. I was calling you your last
Great.
name instead of your first name. I'm so excited to have you here because what we do overlaps like this.
Mhm.
So, audience, really quickly, Phyllis and I both, our passions are helping people figure out what it is that they really want to do and how they can achieve it through their business, whether it's a new business that you're looking to go into and you're trying to figure out what you want to do, or whether you have an existing business that maybe you're really successful, but you're unfulfilled or miserable or
Mhm.
whatever. So I'm so excited to have you tonight, Phyllis. It's been so long since we've gotten to talk.
It has. Thank you so much. And, sadly, if it hadn't been for COVID, we would have never met.
I
So,
know that's
right? And
true.
so it's one of those little silver linings that have come out of. And quite honestly, I think there've been a lot of them. But
Yes,
I'm
yeah, I
so
agree.
excited to be on your show. I love the fact that I'm in your book. And I am also very excited to share with you what's changed since the last time that we spoke.
Yeah,
So,
because I did not realize the evolution that you're going through.
mhm.
But so not only is it perfect for the topic of this show, but it's also a great lesson for the audience because it will show them that your business can continually evolve. So
Oh,
I want you to give
totally.
them some of your background, you know,
Sure.
and how you got to here. And you got to start with the lemonade stand.
I
and then
know. And I was going to actually. So, I grew up in San Jose, California. I'm a native Californian. Don't be mad at me for that.
That's
And
rarity.
I was very lucky. I grew up on a golf course and from an entrepreneurial family. And my grandparents lived in San Francisco, and we used to go up there to visit them. And the Grace Cathedral was a church that we would go to, and they had these beautiful stained glass windows. And so I said to my mom one day at the age of 10, I said, Mom, our church doesn't have a stained glass window, and I think we should have one. I want to do a lemonade stand on the golf course. She went, okay. So I did a lemonade stand on the golf course, and today that church has a little stained glass window. I think
Oh,
I raised like $283, and in
that's a
1958,
lot of
maybe
money.
it was a lot of money. Yeah, maybe it was
Yeah.
60, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, it was a lot of money in those days.
A
Very
lot of
fun.
money, especially when you're thinking about selling cups of lemonade. What was it? Probably a nickel a cup or something? That's a
Well, and
lot.
then of course, my dad was a member. It was a private club, and my godfather, two of my godfathers were playing golf that day, and they both came in and helped themselves to the bar, and so they kind of spiked their lemonade and paid me extra for it. So
Oh,
hey, whatever
that's
it
too
takes, that's what.
funny.
Yeah,
Hey, that shows you. You gotta reach the right market
that's
because
right,
you can
exactly.
work with some people and make a nickel, and you
Uh
can
huh.
work with other people and maybe make $50. So
Absolutely. And, Lisa, one of the other things that I've learned over the years is that willingness to try new things.
yeah.
And I think people get really stuck in doing the same thing over and over, and they feel safe
Mhm.
and they're afraid to make a change. But change is so healthy. And, we're going to live a lot longer than our parents did, thank
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah.
And so, nobody retires at 65 anymore. As a matter of fact, I put people in business that are 65 because they realize that they need to have purpose.
Yeah.
And so, what's happened over the last couple of years is I got this yearning to expand my business. I've been in franchising for 40 years, and yet I took a few jobs, found that I wasn't employable, but I learned
I'm
things
not
over the
either.
I know, right?
I've worked for myself since 1990, so I would feel sorry for anybody that tried to have
Oh,
me as an employee.
I can't imagine. And that's why I call it a freedom business
Mhm.
because I don't understand why more people aren't self employed. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I
Yeah.
know, and the biggest challenge I had is I'd go into every business like I owned it, and I would kind of act like I owned it and think of things and run it like I owned it. And some bosses, they don't take kindly to that. That's
Yeah.
but I learned things every time I did that. And my grandmother, when I was a young woman, probably I think I was about 21, she called me one day and she said, Phyllis, it's really important for you to learn something new every day. And that has been something that has been a mantra for me all these years, because I do believe that that is really important. So anyway, fast forward, I've been a franchise owner, I've sold franchises, I've helped people start franchises, and that's one of the things I'd love for us to chat about in a minute. But then I've spent the last 20 years helping people consider franchising. Well, recently it's been suggested, since I know the data says over all these years that when people think franchising, they think food. Well, I've had some experts say to me, Phyllis, if you're just going to keep franchise on your name, then people are going to pass you by because they think it's too expensive. So
Yeah.
I've branched out. So now if you come to me and you're in a quandary, don't know what you want to do, I will take you and put you through. I've got a great assessment, and then I've got a system and a course that I've created. So you can kind of put together all of the pieces of what you want that business to look like. And then if you want to do a franchise, I can find the perfect franchise for that. If you decide that, no, I don't want the restrictions of what I think are restrictions there, you want a DIY, I've got people like Lisa that can help you.
Is that your dog?
Did you hear that?
Yeah, it was just like staticky. Was it your dog?
Sorry.
No, that's
Somebody at my
okay.
door.
Hey, if I weren't next door to my house at my office, you would be hearing my dogs.
All times the gardener comes, and I've even got a special device here that's supposed to cut that out. So I
Oh,
didn't think that was
funny.
good.
Oh, it's
Anyway,
okay. You know what? That's why we're live, because I love unpredictable stuff and I like it just
I
being
know,
out in the
right?
wild. I want
Yeah,
people to know we're real people just like they are. So,
I know. But this is really bad. I'm going to mute myself for just a minute.
okay.
You can
Okay. Well,
tell
I
me.
was just going to say that I'm so excited about what you're doing because you're right. Even though I'm not a franchise expert, I know that what those marketing people have told you is very correct because that's what I think of. I think that's what most people think of when they think of franchises is food chains, but also we also think about how expensive they are, and some franchises really aren't that expensive. And also, depending on what your background is, some franchises might offer a discount or a special, like veterans. I work with a lot of military families. Um,
Yes.
but I love that now you're branching out because some people who come to you may think they want a franchise, but
But
and you can take them either way. So I love that.
well, and you know what? Not everybody makes a good franchise owner. I mean,
Yeah. I
if they
wouldn't.
I'm an entrepreneur. If they have that entrepreneurial drive, then they probably are not going to be a good franchise owner. And so they need to do their own thing. They just need tools.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so, and on the other hand, franchise military people make great franchise owners because they have great leadership skills and they like following a system. And that's
Yes.
what franchising offers. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
that's for sure. So tell us more about what you're doing then.
So, so what I'm going to be doing, I've started a podcast, and like everything that I do, my first episode, uh, I messed it up because I just
Well,
my
hey,
my
that
coach is having me. I'm used to using StreamYard, and she wants me to use Restream. And so
uh
I went in to start it, and I hit the wrong button, ended up in Zoom. And 2 minutes later, I realized that I was live, and people were going, "Okay, you're live. Are you going to talk to us?"
oh,
So
that's too funny.
I know it's just what do you do? It's technology. So one of
And
the things, Lisa, you and I are good at is rolling
that's
with
right.
it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's another good lesson to people. Look, when you're doing
Yeah,
stuff that you're not used to doing, you're gonna screw it up. And
Mhm.
even if you're used to doing it, you're going to screw it up sometimes, but you just keep rolling with it. You keep doing it and
Absolutely.
don't be afraid to take chances and to keep learning.
No, because it's really interesting. I heard a trainer say recently that if you are bit by procrastination, that's probably fear that's poking in, and it's
Yes.
really not procrastination. Or if you're a perfectionist,
Yeah.
people claim to be a perfectionist, but really what it is, it's procrastination, which then is fear, which is
Hmm.
keeping you from moving forward. And we all do it. I've done it. I'm sure you've done it. It's
Yeah.
it's part of human nature, but people have to be willing to learn new things and to open their minds to possibilities. And the other thing is they have to be willing to study enough to find out if is your objection because of what you think or is it what you know? Because
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, I've learned over the years that when people say, no, I don't like it because of X, I'll say, is that what you think or what you know? And 9 times out of 10, it's what they think. And I'll say, okay, let's put together a question. I want you to go ask George if that's really the case. And of course, it's not. And they figure that out. So,
Yeah. I want to
yeah.
say hey to my friend Jason Croft, who's on here. He said that's a great lesson indeed, what you learned about the podcast. And
Yeah.
Jason's a great video guy. So if you
Oh,
anybody
well,
out there that wants to what?
tell him I'm using crisp and it didn't quite work right.
Okay.
So that's frustrating.
um, so you were used to using StreamYard and you just switched over because she wanted you to.
Yeah, she wanted me to use Restream. And because I'm a little ADD and it was kind of late in the day, but I was, just to be 100% honest, I was in an accountability challenge. And part of my challenge was I promised that I would at least, have one session recorded. So that
Yeah.
was my session. And you know what? It's okay. The funny part about it is it's so me, and that's
Uh-huh.
just my personality. And so if people don't like that about me, then they don't have to listen.
Amen. Yes.
Right?
Yeah. That's right. And it's so
Yeah.
funny because we're so much alike. I'm
I
like
know.
out there with my ADD, and then
Mhm.
the whole thing about being a perfectionist
Oh.
slash procrastinating or whatever.
Mhm.
And as I've gotten older, at first I thought, why am I just procrastinating? Then I realized a lot of it was all or nothing. If I can't do something
Mhm.
perfect, I don't want to do it. But then as I've gotten older, I did realize that it's not
Yeah.
just doing it perfect, it's that
No.
fear of
It's getting
failure.
it done.
And I'm not really afraid of failing, as in really
Mhm.
doing something and it failing. I'm not afraid of that at all. I'm more
Mhm.
afraid of being bored. But it's kind
Right.
of like the little things, failing the little things, I guess, are
Mhm.
what is more my fear.
Well,
Yeah, go
and
ahead.
it's like baby steps, right?
Yeah.
So my word this year was action.
Mhm.
And I've been able to complete several things. I mean, my book is
Several.
out. Huh?
I'm laughing. Several. And it could be several big things, but there's probably some people out there going, several? I've done like dozens.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, so I'm working on blocking time and kind of looking. When I look back on the things that I've accomplished this year, it was like, wow, you got a lot done.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that, and I feel like I'm in a place right now where I'll be able to really offer some great value, and the door will be open to more opportunities and more people that I can help, and I would love
I love that too, because even back when we first met and when we talked, had our conversation
that.
for the
Mhm.
book, and then you also spoke at my Disrupt Your Now conference that I did. What? It's been like a year and a half, almost two
I
years
know,
ago,
right?
the
Yeah.
virtual conference. I remember thinking a lot of people, because I knew you worked with people as a franchise coach then, and I
Mhm.
remember thinking a lot of people might not even think they want a franchise, so they
That's the
wouldn't
problem.
ever make it to you. So this is
Mhm.
perfect because you get to get people higher up the funnel before they go
Mhm.
too far one way.
Exactly.
And
Well,
tell.
they run away with no information.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
and they make decisions without enough information about the alternatives. And that doesn't mean that you're stupid. It doesn't mean that
Oh.
you're not successful or anything. Tell them about the story in the book about the man that had the franchise that was really, really successful and then came and told you that he wanted to sell it. Do you remember the story? Which
Yeah,
story
I
I'm
do
talking
remember the
about?
story. Yeah, he's one of the stories that I like to tell because it's a really good lesson on going through my initial process, which is really identifying exactly what you want, whether it's no matter what business it is, it's those key characteristics that you're looking for. So this gentleman came to me and I met him actually on a trip to China through the Seattle Chamber of Commerce. And I was living in Washington at the time, and he called me up one day, and I think at the time when we were in China, he was working for a bank. And he called me up one day and said, I said, how's it going? And he said, oh, it's going just great. And I said, so why are we chatting? And he said, well, because I quit my job and I want to talk to you about franchising. I said, okay. So I went through the process with him, met his wife, and I'd met her on the trip to China anyway. But I put him into a franchise, and it was a big operation, but he wanted something like that. It happened to be a resale. And about 5 years later, he calls me up and he said, I said, how's it going? And he said, well, I want to sell my business. And I went, you're doing so well. I'm surprised. So we went and had lunch and I chatted with him. And what he said to me was, he said, I thought I'd really love the business. And the business, there was nothing wrong with the business.
Mhm.
It's just that I'm a suit and tie kind of guy. And it just wasn't the right fit for me. And
Yeah.
he has since gone on to do all sorts of, business things that are more in his alley. So that was a big lesson for me because I didn't press upon him enough the type of employees he'd be working
Yeah.
with. And then right after that, I had another gentleman who had an experience where he got involved in a business that had blue collar workers, and he had never worked with blue collar workers. He didn't know how to relate to them, and it wasn't a good fit for him. So ever
Mhm.
since then, I have really been dead set on, let's really examine the type of employees you want to have in your business, if you even want any. you know
Yeah.
so so you don't put yourself in a position where it's not a good fit for you.
Those are great examples, and it's one of the things that I talk with my clients a lot about. Most of my clients already own a business and they're very
Hmm.
successful, and they may not want to sell their business or close it down or whatever, but they're either unfulfilled
Hmm.
or they need to make some kind of change, like they
Yep.
want to work less to be with their grandchildren or
Hmm.
help care for an elderly parent or something like
Hmm.
that. Um, but so many people, the vast majority of business owners that I work with who are successful but unfulfilled, it's
Hmm.
because all they thought about was, how much can I make? How much am I going to have to work? They may have thought of that. How much am I going to have to work?
Hmm.
And how much is it going to cost me to get into it? They don't think
Hmm.
about the day to day grind and the day to
No.
day things. So, those are perfect examples of that, whether it's a franchise or whether you're
Hmm.
starting your own business from scratch. It's like marrying somebody.
Oh
You
yeah,
you have
totally.
really got to you have to understand yourself
Hmm.
before you can understand whatever business you're going
That's right.
into.
And if you're married, you've got a partner to consider,
Yeah,
because whether your partner is involved in the business or not, they're involved in the business.
that's right.
And so, one of the things that I've always been really passionate about is making sure that my clients have their partner on calls, so that if nothing else, they have a clear understanding of exactly what they're doing, so that they can be their champion and not have all of this fear stuff going on in their head because they don't know. So, the fear of the unknown, I think, is the worst. So
Yeah.
the more you can have them engaged and to hear the developer on the phone, and realize that they're really caring about them, it makes a big difference.
Oh, that's great because a lot of spouses, partners, whatever, they end up feeling like the person is just doing what they want to do, whether they want them to or not.
That's right.
Um, they may be afraid because of the money that's being invested. They may be
Of
afraid
course.
because of the time or
Sure.
whatever. So forcing those people to take into consideration their partner is
Mhm.
great. And
Absolutely.
that is also another qualifier or pre-qualifier for you, because if somebody's not willing to do that, they're not the right
Mhm.
person to work with you.
That's
So
right.
that's another good lesson for people out there. You have to come up
Well,
like with your own rules of who you will work
mhm.
with and not.
Well, so I'll give you another example, and that is when you have couples that are going to work together. So I always say each of you have to have, and especially to the men, don't
Oh
take offense.
crap. Hold on. I forgot to plug my computer in. You keep talking. Keep talking.
Okay, I'll keep talking. Anyway, so when it comes to working as couples, one of the things that's really important is that each of you have to have a specific role in the business, because I can promise you there will be nothing worse than for you to act like you're her boss. She will fire you. That's not a healthy environment. So she needs to have autonomy, that this is her lane and this is the area that she works in and this is the area that you work in, and you are not her boss. You are equals.
Yeah.
And that will keep your marriage healthy. Yeah.
That's great. I'm sorry, y'all. I just realized I looked up and it was like low battery, and I had my cord plugged in, but ADD me, I didn't plug it into the computer.
Oh, I'm just feeling right at home here.
It's so funny. Well, the first business that my husband and I started, it was 1990. He was retiring from the military. We had two babies. He didn't know what he wanted to do. He had a master's degree, but he didn't want to stay in the defense industry. And he was just
Mhm.
overwhelmed, didn't know what he wanted to do. And we were in a town in Florida that was in the middle of a recession. So
Oh
I
boy.
was like, let's start a business. Because by then I
Mhm.
knew corporate world wasn't for me. And so we started a business and it was very successful. We built it up. Well, I started it 6 months before he retired, making cold calls all day while my babies or, you
Wow.
know, and so 6 months later when he retired, he never even got to take a day off. He went back to work. But what we looked at was how much did we have to invest? How much,
Mhm.
were we able to grow it at the pace we would want to and everything, but we didn't take into account what the daily life would be like once the business was thriving, and it was
Mhm.
very hard. But also, so that was a mistake that we made, but one thing that we did do right is he handled all the operations
Mhm.
and I handled all of the businessy stuff because I was
Yep.
an accountant. So I did all the financial stuff.
Oh, you're the numbers cruncher.
Yeah. And so
Nice.
I did all the financial stuff and I did, proposals and all that. But he was the one that handled all the operations stuff and
Mhm.
dealing operationally with clients. So we made mistakes, but we also did things right. But
But it's not about the mistakes, Lisa. It's really more about what did you learn,
that's right. We learned a
right?
lot. Yeah, we learned a
Mhm.
lot, and then we sold it and went on to the next thing. So,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yep. I totally understand all that.
yeah, yeah.
Um, are you utilizing a virtual assistant at all?
I'm not, but most of the people that I know are, and I keep telling myself I need to start using a VA because I have lots of friends who are VAs and stuff.
Mhm.
And then I
Mhm.
go, I'm not organized to even start using a VA, So
Mhm.
no, I'm not. I'm not yet.
Okay.
Are
Yeah.
you?
So yes, I do have a VA. She's wonderful. It's like having this little angel that's, like she does all of my social media, which we're going to have
Mhm.
to make some adjustments to now that I'm the freedom business strategy specialist. But yeah, she's great. And that's when I talk about freedom, that's one of the areas that I really want to focus on with my clients is
Mhm.
for them to embrace the idea of having a virtual assistant,
Yeah.
because there are so many little things that we do that waste so much time, that if we had that taken off the table, I mean, marketing for one, as
Yeah.
if you can have, I know, especially with franchising, they're very lucky because they give them all the materials they need to do, but they have to do it. When
Mhm.
I was selling franchises for Sir Speedy, they had their own in-house print shop. Of course they did.
Yeah.
Dennis was my favorite pressman. I just loved him. And I'd go in and see him, and he'd be printing off direct mail cards. And that was one of the things that people would pay for the marketing department, is they would do all these great direct mail cards, send them out to the owners, and all they had to do was affix the label and the stamp and get them out to the customers. Do you think they did that? No.
No.
I would go on store visits, and they'd be piled up in the back corner.
Yeah, because they didn't have time, right? I don't
have
have time. Yeah.
Yeah. And now it's so much easier. Now it's all done online. So using a virtual assistant is a natural, because, I mean, they're up when we're sleeping.
Yeah.
I mean, I work with ones in the Philippines. I also have a connection where some VAs that are down in Mexico City. So it's only 2 hours difference, which is nice too.
Yeah. And I know people that use virtual assistants in other countries like that. And then I know some VAs in America. And then one of my friends actually owns a company that it is a virtual assistant company. So people come to her to get work. Yeah. So I love that she does that. And it's funny because it's been almost 20 years ago, one of my clients had a VA. And that was the first
20 years ago?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it was actually 2003, so 19 years ago. And they were based here in Virginia where I live, and their VA was in St. Louis or Minneapolis or somewhere like that.
And it was probably a stay-at-home mom who needed some extra money, and
she still works with them.
I love it.
Yeah.
They become a member of the family.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. You would never know that. I mean, she's so embedded in the team that it's just like having an employee. But the great thing with the VA is that the relationship can evolve as your needs do. So, look, I'm talking myself into it. I mean, it's one of those things I know I need to do, but it's kind of like, you're going to laugh at me. It's kind of like, oh, I can't have a housekeeper because the house isn't clean enough for the housekeeper to come and clean.
That's a woman thing, and we have to get over those things.
Yeah, we do.
Right? I have a document that I will send you, and it's a list of all the different types of things a VA can do for you. Okay. You'll be blown away at things you would have never thought about that a VA could do for you, that you kind of do. I mean, we do so many things just like little robots, right? We just do stuff.
And we also think nobody can do this but me, or it'll take me longer to teach somebody what to do than to do it myself. So I'm just going to do it myself. I'm really bad about that.
Well, there's some little tricks of the trade that I can share with you offline.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, be happy to do that.
So let's talk some more about the evolution of your business. So all these decades you've been working in franchising, and then you started working with some marketing people, and they pointed out to you kind of the obvious, but because you were so close to what you were doing.
It's like I had tunnel vision. So the first thing that happened is I started working with Forbes Riley. I met her at Clubhouse. And when I first talked to her, she said, "Do you have a coach?" "No." "You need a coach." "Okay." Anyway, so she kind of pulled me into her world, and she was the first one that really got on me about having a course and charging people. And I went, "Well, I can't do that. Nobody charges people in my industry." She says, "I don't care what they do. I think you should charge people. You've been doing this for a long time. You've got a lot of skills." Anyway, so I really struggled with that. It took me a year before I finally embraced the fact that I did have a lot of knowledge, that I could help people in various ways, and that my time was worth something. Imagine that.
Well, and here's the other thing, Phyllis, because we've been doing what we do for decades, literally, both of us, because I've owned my business now since 1996. We get so used to what we're doing that we take so many things for granted. So that's one thing. But the other great thing about a course, though, is think about it this way. This is what I tell my clients. There are a lot of people who would love to be able to work with you, but they just cannot afford it. So by you offering that course, you're opening up your expertise and knowledge to people so that more people can benefit from you.
Exactly. So anyway, so I'm excited about that. So I have my books coming out, and it is all about franchising. My
Mhm.
course mimics my book. And then I'm going to split. It's funny when I look at it because I realize the first half of my course is all about the characteristics of the business. So
Mhm.
I can take that and put it over here in this silo. And then if somebody wants to do their own thing, they still need to dig into these aspects. They really need to get clear on, what they want and what their motive is, and, what kind of business do they see themselves with a location or home based or working with kids, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited. I feel like I'm really on the road to great things, and I'm starting a podcast, as I shared with you,
What's the name
and
of your podcast?
it's going to be Freedom, Find Your Freedom Business.
Awesome. Awesome.
So it
And when is
started out, it was going to be find your financial freedom through franchising. But
uh-huh.
then again, I had this expert say, Phyllis, you're pigeonholing yourself into a corner with franchising. And I went, and finally the light, you know how it takes a while? Finally
Mhm.
the light bulb went on and I went, okay, you're right. I get that now. So
Yeah.
that opens the door to more people being able to work with me, and for me to help more people get clear on what it is they want to do.
Yeah. So tell us about your book. When is that coming out?
So my book is in the final edits, so it should come out next month, and it's the 15 steps to finding the perfect franchise. And
Awesome.
as Susie, it's an itty bitty book. It's bullet points, and it's paragraphs and bullet points. And
Awesome.
as Susie Pruden says, she's the publisher. She said people buy books for, dummies, the dummy book about
Yeah.
franchising. And this is the cliff notes of the dummy book about franchising.
By
So,
somebody that really knows what they're talking about. So when you
mhm,
want to know more than what's in the book, they can come to you.
that's
Um,
right.
I'm actually right now I'm working on the workbook for Disrupt Your Now.
Oh, good for
And
you.
yeah, and I actually had planned on, I'm going to be honest, so people out there know this is real world. Everything doesn't always go like you plan. I had planned on launching it last January, and
Yep.
then my aunt got sick, and I was helping care for her and
Mhm.
several other things. And I'm like, you know what? Putting it aside. Oh, and I also wasn't, I didn't feel like I had it at the point that I wanted it. So I felt
Mhm.
like I needed to step away and kind of forget what I had even put in it and then come
You
back.
needed a digital detox,
Yes,
my
yeah.
friend says.
Yep.
Yes.
So I'm finishing up the workbook for Disrupt Your Now. It's called Disrupt My Now to help somebody work through what they're doing. And I'm getting ready to do the audio book for Disrupt Your Now. So those are
Oh,
the two big,
fabulous.
yeah, those are the two big things on my plate.
Very nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just on a course with Paul, with Rethink Social Media. Do you know him?
Uh, Not sure.
Paul O'Malley. I think it's Paul O'Malley. I just love him. He's wonderful. And he was talking about audiobooks today. And
Mhm.
it's like you do the book, and then you do the ebook, and then you do the audiobook. And he had a really interesting suggestion that I'll throw out at you. And he said that he said it's really best to be done by a professional, the audio part. But if
Mhm.
you want to do the intro, you do the intro, and then you have a professional do the rest of it. I don't know how you're planning to do it, but that was his.
Actually, I'm reading it myself because everybody tells me you have to read it because
Well,
when I
then,
read,
then
they're like,
yeah,
when I read it, I feel like you're sitting there talking to me. And if
I would
somebody
agree
else,
100%. Yeah,
and so even my coach, Steve Sims, and he's like, you have to read it, except he says it in his East London accent.
I love that.
so, so yeah,
That's
I'll
great.
be reading it. Yeah.
Good.
So, but it all depends on what the book is, who the person is, and everything. And there,
Mhm.
like everything in the world, there is
Yeah.
no one right answer.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so, everybody out there, whenever you run across somebody that says this is the only way you can do it, that's a
Yeah.
red
Mhm.
flag. And so
That's totally a red flag.
that's not saying that what Phyllis just said is wrong
No.
because it isn't, because most of the
Mm-mm.
time people
No.
shouldn't read it. The other thing with me reading it myself, people are either going to like my accent or they're going to hate it. And you know
Oh, they're
what?
gonna love your accent.
but if they hate it, they shouldn't work with me.
That's right.
Because
Exactly.
I'm very personal with the people that I work with, and I embed in
Me
the
too.
business and everything. So,
Yeah.
that's another way of kind of qualifying people.
Mhm. Well, the other reason that I'm so excited about this new direction that I'm going is that I've met, with all the online stuff that we've been doing, I've met so many women who get caught up in trying to do something, but they never get going.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that this will let enable me to help more people and help more women elevate themselves. And I'm going to start the middle of this month. I'm going to start working on my signature talk,
Mhm.
because I need to get in front of more women who are, there's so many women that are empty nesters that they don't know what they want to do, and yet they're too young to retire. They actually have really great skills that they've learned, even if they've been a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
And I need to get in front of them. And I think the only way I can do that was to open the gates and create more avenues for people to come see me. So
Yeah.
I'm
It's
really
so true. I've worked with a lot of people during COVID because so many people either got laid off or they
Mhm.
took early retirement because they were bought out, and they're like,
Yep.
I'm not ready to not work, especially the people
No.
that are laid off. And they were afraid to go get another job because what if it
Mhm.
happened again, or they may not have even been able to. So I've been able
Mhm.
to work with a lot of people to help them figure out that next step. And
Mhm.
it's like I think I don't remember if you said this earlier during the show, if we were talking about it beforehand, but we're not going to not work when we're
No.
65.
No.
It's not going to happen. I'm 61 and I cannot imagine not working. I'm sure
It's not.
10 years from now, I won't be working the same way that I am now. But you know what? 10 years ago, I wasn't working the same way. My
Mhm.
business has constantly evolved as my life has changed.
Well, I've got news for you. People in my business spend their days dialing and dialing and dialing and dialing. And I've got
Mhm.
news for you. I made up my mind several years ago. I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just not. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I've already paid my dues. Thank you. And so, no,
Yeah.
I have way too much to offer people.
That's right. You have a very unique skill set and experience. And when you put
Mhm.
all of that together, there's nobody else like you. That's what I say in the book.
Yep.
All of us, we are the only one of us in the world. And so everybody's unique skill set, their life
Mhm.
experience, everything put together makes them the perfect person to help certain people who need
Yep.
that combination. So
Yep.
I'm
Absolutely.
really glad that you're doing this because
Thank you.
you're
Me
going to be
too.
able to
I'm
help
sure.
so many more people, Phyllis.
I know.
It's
Yeah,
awesome.
I really was. And it was so frustrating because I knew there were so many people I could help, but because I had that word franchise in there, they would, walk right by because, oh
Yeah.
no, I can't afford that. It's way too expensive.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, because and people do think of huge dollar amounts being put out, and then most people do think of food.
They
And
do. Yeah.
there are franchises in every type of industry out there. And as a matter of fact,
Mhm.
in the past couple years, I've learned some of the companies that I thought I knew stuff about. I didn't realize they were franchise companies. I was like,
Mhm.
whoa,
Yeah.
so it is. I can see where that would have been very limiting to you having to potential clients.
Yes. The other thing too, Lisa, I wanted you to know that I have a team now that I work with. So if you have one of your clients that wants to grow
Mhm.
and they are looking to expand, turning it into a franchise is a great way to go. We've got a whole package program for
Yeah,
them to
that's
be able to
awesome.
do that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and that is one thing that I talk with some clients about. I don't have anybody
Mhm.
right now, but there's some businesses that are perfect for that. So
Oh,
I'm glad
perfect.
to
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm glad to know that you have that.
Mhm.
I didn't realize it.
Yeah,
Cool.
so I've placed 3 people. I've got a lady that's gonna open in January. She wanted to wait, and she's doing staffing for preschools. Who would have
Oh,
thought? Uh-huh. Another one that they're gonna do repairing bumpers. And then a third one that is looking right now. It's a children's party program.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's yeah, lots of
Well,
good stuff going on. And I've
yeah.
got a guy that turned his business. He's called Pool Table Pros, and he moves and repairs pool tables.
Oh, cool.
It's
That's
just one of
cool.
those little niche markets.
Yeah, and this is another thing that I always tell my clients. Everything in the world, somebody is being paid to do it.
Mhm.
So whether you hate it or whether you like it, somebody is being paid to do it, and you can figure out a way to
That's
turn it
right.
into a
Well,
business.
Lisa, one of the other things that I share with people is that most franchise businesses are targeting upper income people because
Yeah,
they have services that the upper income people are willing to pay for.
yeah.
And I have news for you. There's a lot of those people that are
Mhm.
out there that want those services. I mean, I'm not cleaning my house,
Yeah,
So, and those are the people that they target. So they're not
yeah.
wasting. And with social media now and with technology is it's making business so much better
Mhm.
and it's opening the doors to so many new opportunities. It's really exciting.
Yeah, I think I said earlier, I used to be an accountant, hated
Mm.
it, was really good, just did not like it.
Yep.
And when I started messing around with web design in 95, I was like, oh my God, this is perfect for me because I can use my business and entrepreneurial
Mhm.
background. So I
Mhm.
ditched my CPA license. And for a long time, and I had also owned a business strategy company at
Mhm.
the time. But for a long time, when I first started doing web design and development, I intentionally kind of pushed aside the more businessy admin type stuff because I was like, oh, I'm sick of it. But it's
Mhm.
funny now I've come back around full circle because back when I started, you had to be able to code to make
Mhm.
things happen. And
Yeah.
now, websites and everything else are mainstream. So now what's needed is not the skills that I had to develop and use in the
Mhm.
90s. What's needed is, okay, I've got this person that knows how to do this,
Mhm.
these people that know how to do little things, but people don't know how to fit it into the big picture. And they end
Mhm.
up with all these separate little things. So I've come back around full circle, and that's how I ended up focusing on strategy now. And I
Great.
love it. I do still do web design and development,
Mhm.
but I do very little of it anymore. And even my staff, we do very little because almost anybody can make something that looks good now, but
Mhm.
that doesn't mean that it's going to get the business results
That's
that the
right.
person wants. So we focus on helping people figure out what it is they actually need and what are the best ways to do it.
Mhm.
Similar to you. Okay,
Yes.
you want to own a business, but what is the best thing?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you have had so many exciting things this year, and I love it. But you were right. We did meet during COVID, and we met on Clubhouse. I
We
met
did.
so many cool people on Clubhouse when it
I
first
know.
launched. Are you still on there?
I do. I still tune in to Breakfast with Champions
Mhm.
in the morning. Like if I'm up getting ready to do whatever, a lot of times I'll turn that on because they either have specialists on there or they have a lot of really great experts. So I
Yeah.
really do enjoy that. I don't get on it nearly as much as I used to. Do you get on it at all?
Some, but I found like I was like in this deep black hole. I would go and I would have it on so long, and it's like I would feel like, oh, I can have it on like the radio, but no, because
Yeah.
then I would want to talk. So
Mhm.
I had to back off, but I do still go on some. But I
Mhm.
loved it, and personally, I like the audio communication so much more than just regular old social media writing
Oh
back and
yeah.
forth. I feel like
Totally.
you can learn a lot more by people, even if you couldn't see them, that you can learn a lot more about them by hearing them talk spontaneously. And
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
I met so many people. I met you, I met Hobie Wedler, the blind PhD chemist. Did you know that we had him on our
How's he
NASCAR
doing?
right? He's doing great, but we launched his new company last year. We had the first Braille paint scheme in NASCAR and
Oh
had
my God,
his,
that is fabulous.
yeah, we had his company on it, and we had philanthropists pay to put him on it. So, and of course, that was very special to me because my father was blind. So I love,
Oh, yeah,
I
that's right. I forgot that.
yeah, yeah. And so Hobie, when we first met on Clubhouse, it's like we felt like we'd known each other forever, you know? And it was
Those,
so funny.
those little connections are so special.
Yeah, it really is. And I love figuring out how people can do things in their business that nobody else would have ever thought of. And so
Mhm.
when we did the Braille paint scheme, I was there with Hobie the first time he felt it, and he could
Oh,
feel the Braille on it, and he was reading it. I was about to cry. I have a video
oh,
of it.
I bet.
And I told him, I was like, "Oh my God, I wish Daddy could have been here. It would have been so cool." And then I said, "But y'all would have been fighting over who got to drive the car on Daytona, on the track at Daytona, because both of them, they're so much alike. They're like, I want to do it, you know."
Mhm.
So, but yeah, I met some really cool people. Stacy Houston, who was also in the book, and she's Kevin Bacon's director of 6 Degrees. I met a
Oh,
lot of amazing people on there. So,
mhm.
to people out there who are afraid to go out and get on new platforms, or even afraid to put yourself out on the platforms that you already own, stop being afraid because you never
Gotta
know
do
who you're
it.
going to meet.
Yeah, you just have to get out there. We live in a digital world now, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
That's one of the things too that I want to do is I'm putting together a course on how to look good on camera because I, as we know, there's a lot of people that don't quite get it. So
Yeah. That's for
yeah.
sure. And it's most of the people that I deal with, and even whether they're my clients or not, they look at, here's digital and here's the real world. And it's like, no, it's, you have to bridge it. And
Yeah.
it's like you don't think of your telephone as being this separate thing. And oh, I'm going to have my phone number and I'm not going to worry about it,
Mhm.
because everybody's so used to a phone. And
Mhm.
especially older people, and I could say that because I'm 61, people need to get over that and understand that it all blends together now, and they need to figure out how they can blend their company like that, because
Yep.
there's so many ways that you can use the internet to make your business easier to run. People think of
Oh,
it as, oh, just marketing, a website. No,
no.
there's so many ways that
So
you can make
much.
your
Yeah.
business easier to run, more
Mhm.
profitable, work less, make
Mhm.
more. So I
Yep.
love that part.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. So much for us to teach people.
Yeah, there is. There is. All
Yeah.
right. So, Phyllis, tell everybody how they can find you, how they can hook up with you, find out more about you, and also about the book.
Um,
Remind them about the book.
just put my name, Phyllis Pieri, in Google, and I'll pop up. I mean, that's really the easiest
Yeah.
way. I mean, I can give you, and go on to LinkedIn. I'm very popular on LinkedIn. I need to probably go change my naming a little bit now. But, and my website currently is Your Franchise Coach. So, but just put my name in Google.
Yeah.
I'm everywhere.
Pieri for the
Yep.
people who, because this will be
Oh,
made
that's
into,
right. And it's Phyllis, Phyllis,
yeah.
Pieri, Pieri.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
I just realized I forgot to change the aspect ratio, so we're like this, and we could have. Oh well, on the video, I just realized I
But
never have it like this. I don't know why how that happened.
I think it's very special.
Yes, it just I wasn't paying attention and I didn't notice it. But yeah, I'm so excited. I cannot wait for your book to come out. And
I know, me too. I'm thrilled. It's been a labor of love, and it's funny because English was never my strong suit. And to think that I mean, they did a lot of editing, I promise you. But
yeah,
I use tools. I use Grammarly. I
hmm
pay monthly for Grammarly or whatever it is because English isn't my strong suit. I've always God's always brought me people that can help me. And I'm
yeah,
not ashamed to ask for help. And that's one of the other things that I think women really struggle with.
hmm
Oh, which reminds me, another key point that was brought up to me one day recently, and I hadn't thought about it this way, and they were so right. One of the challenges that men have when it comes to going into business for themselves is when they grow up in corporate America, they don't want to ask for help because they don't want to look weak, right?
yeah,
And they don't want it to cause a problem with their review and all that kind of stuff. When
Mhm.
you get into business for yourself or you get involved in a franchise, they want you to ask for help. So
Yeah,
don't be shy.
for
I always
sure.
tell my clients, be the squeaky wheel. So,
Yeah.
if you go into business for yourself, get a coach, be teachable, be
Mhm.
willing to try new things.
Yeah,
But
that's a great point. But they're afraid that they'll look weak,
that's right.
and so it's just ingrained in them. Don't
Mhm.
ask, don't let anybody know that you don't know. But
Yeah,
to
I
me,
know.
that's the fun part of
I
being an
know.
entrepreneur. It's trying new things and just do whatever you want.
I know.
I love that. I
Mhm.
can't
Me too.
imagine working in a corporation anymore. So,
No, me either.
yeah.
I'm like I say, I'm unemployable.
Yep. Me too. Well, Phyllis, thank you so much for
This
joining
has
me
been
tonight.
so much fun.
Yes, it was great catching up with you because it's been a long time since we've talked, and it's so
It has.
exciting to hear about everything that you're doing. I have one last question though. When
Yes.
did you say your course is launching?
My
Did
course is available now.
okay. Okay. So
Yeah.
if we just go to your LinkedIn page, we can find something about your course, or go to Google and
No,
search your name.
no.
Okay, so how are people
Reach
going to
out to
find
me.
it? So
Just
reach
reach
out
out
to
to me.
Phyllis. Okay,
Just
okay.
reach out to me and we can talk about the course.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Thank you
Okay.
so much, Phyllis. It was
Thank
great
you.
catching up with you. And I will see all of y'all next week.
Woohoo!
Bye.